Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com.
Starsky. Oh, we were partners.
You're listening to Dave and Strom on TalkNorth.com.
Yes, it is. Welcome into another edition here of the Strom Sports Show. Dave and Strom, TalkNorth.com. We've got a jammed-packed show for you today. Noah Eagle will join me. Yes, he is the son and the upcoming star of Ian Eagle, the famous play-by-play announcer. He does Brooklyn Nets basketball. He does college basketball. He does NFL. A tremendous play-by-play announcer he is. And yes, his son will be joining me in just a bit here to talk a little college basketball. He's at Syracuse right now. He does the Syracuse basketball games. And like I said, just remember the name Noah Eagle because he will be doing games very shortly. He's a senior this year out of Syracuse, so he will join me in just a bit. Negative Dave, as always, will join me after Noah. We will discuss the Minnesota Twins, their 2019 season, some expectations, what to expect, Byron Buxton, Miguel Sano talk. We've got a lot to get into. Michael Pineda, the new manager, Rocco Baldelli. How will the Twins fare in 2019? Can they get out of the AL Central? Can they finish first in just a horrid division with the Chicago White Sox, the putrid Detroit Tigers, the stinky Royals, and then you're going to have the Indians who you're probably going to be battling out. I know the over-under is 84.5. So we'll take a look at all of that in just a bit here. But I wanted to start off here by talking about the greatest postseason in sports, and that is March Madness. We've, recording here on a Friday, so the Sweet 16 games on Friday night are just going to conclude. Then we're going to head into the Elite Eight this weekend and off to the Final Four. So I just wanted to get this clear across to the audience. At an entertainment standpoint, college basketball blows away the NBA, and this weekend has already proven that after the incredible Purdue-Tennessee game, after the close Virginia-Oregon game, and it's going to continue to prove that the college basketball postseason is just not even close to what the NBA postseason is. At a gameplay perspective, and I know a lot of the avid NBA lovers will tell me that NBA players are so much more skilled, and that's why the scores in college basketball are lower because they're not skilled. No, it's not. The gameplay is just so much better than the NBA. The defense, okay, these guys just battle. I watch NBA games. Half the teams don't even play defense till the fourth quarter. And the only good ones play defense in the fourth quarter. It is not even close to the intensity of a college basketball game. Okay? Another thing. The regular season of the NBA means absolutely nothing. Okay? The Warriors probably not going to finish in first in the West. Does that mean a damn thing? No. The regular season in college basketball, for the at-large bids, for the at-large teams that are trying to make the tournament, it's everything to them. They have to beat these big-time teams. They have to not get into a little losing streak going into March. They have to be able to be consistent. The regular season, you got the Detroit Pistons who are a game over 500 that are going to make the playoffs and qualify. That's not the case in college basketball. There's also no tanking, which I love, okay? In the NBA, you've got the Knicks, you've got the Suns, you've got the Cavaliers. They're all tanking at this point. There's no tanking in college basketball. None of it. No one tries to lose. No one's waiting for a number one recruit. That's not how it works. So every game, you're going to get someone's best. You see it last year. Virginia loses to UMBC, a 16 seed. There are so much parity in college basketball. It's not even close to the NBA. The Warriors have won the last 3 out of 4 championships and probably will win again this year. Other than Nova going back-to-back, I mean, let's look at the last couple winners here. Villanova, UNC, Kentucky, Duke, UConn. It's someone new every year. NBA, it's gotten into this mode where you're going to get the Heat for a couple years. You'll throw in the Spurs. Then we're going to throw in the Warriors. And then we'll sprinkle in a little Cavaliers. For the most part, you know who the two teams are going to be in the finals after game one of the regular season. And that, to me, stinks. At an entertainment standpoint, that stinks. March Madness is the greatest postseason there is. One-game tournament. Okay, it's not a best of 7. If Virginia and UMBC played in the best of 7 series, Virginia probably would have won 4-1 if you would have given UNC that first win. In the NBA, it's like, all right, well, Warriors go down 1-0, whatever, 2-0, okay, Warriors down 3-1. I mean, then they come back and beat the Rockets. I mean, it's no fun. Are we going to see a better game in the NBA postseason this year than UCF and Duke? Or LSU, Maryland? Auburn, New Mexico State? Yesterday, Purdue, Tennessee? Are we? Are we going to see a better game than what we're going to see with maybe Duke, North Carolina in the national championship? You can't keep your eyes off it. The last thing I want to say about this is rivalries stay true in college basketball. No matter when UNC and Duke plays, no matter when these rivalry teams play each other, it's always going to have juice. Okay? In the NBA, it changes from time to time. It's the Celtics and Lakers, is that our claim to fame? It's not even that big of a rival anymore. Every year it's different in the NBA. You've got your, OKC and maybe the Warriors, they don't like each other, Durant and Westbrook, okay, and then that faded. You had, the Pistons and Pacers, and then that faded. There's not a lot of that anymore, and there's just no juice to it. 82 games. It's too much. It's too much. Rivalries stay true in college basketball. There's no better tournament. There's no better postseason in sports than March Madness. These 3 weeks are the best, the absolute best, at a gameplay standpoint, at an entertainment standpoint, and at a parity standpoint. I can fill out an NBA bracket right now in about 5 minutes, and most likely, I would say 85-90%, get the finals and get the finals winner. Some guys, after day 1 of March Madness, their bracket's destroyed. What does that tell you about the parity of the NBA compared to college basketball? Yeah, maybe the guys in the NBA are more skilled at this point. But how many of you would take the effort over the skill at an entertainment standpoint in watching these games? That's the big question. Noah Eagle, he's up next. All right, I promise you to remember the name Noah Eagle. He is currently at Syracuse right now and the play-by-play announcer for WAER for the basketball and lacrosse team. Yes, he is the son of the one and only Ian Eagle, one of the greatest play-by-play announcers. And it's a pleasure to have you on today, Noah. Thank you so much for giving me the time.
Absolutely. I've been waiting for this opportunity. I've been waiting for the call to get on the show, Steven. So glad to be here.
My man. All right, let's. We obviously have a ton to get into with the college basketball and March Madness, but I want to start with your team, and that is Syracuse. And this was a pretty crazy year for them. The ups and downs. You go and you beat Duke, and they had a kind of a weird year. They get into the tournament. They give up 16 threes to Baylor. They lose 78-69, and Syracuse has actually done really well these last few years. What happened in this particular game, and why did they struggle so much defensively?
Well, I think that it was a puzzling year all around, as you said. I think that there were so many expectations coming into the season. When you return an entire starting 5 from a Sweet 16 team, there are certainly going to be expectations. And you return Tyus Battle as your leading scorer, who was one of the best players in the ACC a year ago, and you think, all right, we've added some more pieces. We get Jalen Carey, who's a 4-star recruit. We get Elijah Hughes, who had to sit out because he transferred from East Carolina. That's a scoring machine. That's a really good shooter from the perimeter. And you think, all right, we've got some pieces. We're ready to go. We can reload and try to attack this ACC, which is so difficult. And what happened was unexpected things got in the way. Frank Howard gets hurt in the first couple games of the season. That throws off the rhythm just to start the year, and then begin the year 2-2, and that hadn't happened in a couple of decades here in Central New York. So that was a shock to begin the season. So then you have to find a rhythm once you get your point guard back, who a lot of people in Central New York don't even love Frank Howard to begin with, don't even love his game. And now you get him back, you say, okay, he actually kind of was important to this team because he kind of keeps the engine moving. And still, you had to find that rhythm. They find the rhythm. They beat Duke on the road, and they win the games that they had to win. They got what they needed to get done to get into the tournament.
Yep.
Once you get in, anything can happen. But Frank Howard then gets suspended for what was later to be found out failing a drug test. And again,
Brutal.
Now you're playing without your point guard.
Brutal.
So Frank, Tyus Battle had played the one a decent amount this year, and honestly, it looked like he was comfortable playing the one. But when it's all said and done, you're going to miss your senior point guard. I don't care how inconsistent he is, but he was playing the best basketball of his career at the ACC tournament at 28 points against Duke. He was shooting the ball well. He was passing the ball pretty well, limiting his turnovers, and really playing defense the best that we've seen him play his 4 years. So it was a tough blow, and I think, look, I'm not saying they would have won the game with Frank Howard, but you certainly don't want to end the season on a what if. Like, that's the last thing you want.
Right.
A what if he was there? Would they have won? Maybe they give Gonzaga a run for their money. I actually thought they matched up well with the Zags, and I was in Salt Lake City to watch. Gonzaga's really good. There's no questioning that, and I know you're a big assist-to-turnover ratio guy. They're the best in the country. They're number one in assist-to-turnover ratio for good measure. They've got experience. They've got legitimate NBA guys on their roster. But when Syracuse's defense is clicking, it's hard to beat them, and it wasn't happening against Baylor. There were defensive lapses without Frank Howard in the lineup. And if he wasn't there for a Gonzaga game, should they have won that first game, I don't think that the defense would have been up to par. You have to remember that Sweet 16 win a year ago, that Sweet 16 advance a year ago was due to defense, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah, and I want to just get into really quickly with the Gonzaga game, because there's a lot of people. If they were telling me if Syracuse wins this game against Baylor, I'm picking Syracuse to beat Gonzaga. You know, Syracuse is so different because they play defense like a mid-major. Like, a lot of times you see the style, I meant.
Right.
A lot of times you see in the NCAA tournament, these mid-major teams, they have to zone these more athletic teams because they can't play defense. Syracuse is tricky because they play that zone defense, but they have just as good as athletes as you. So that's why that would have been such an intriguing matchup for that game, that Gonzaga-Syracuse game. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to see that. I want to talk quickly about Jim Boeheim, then we'll move on to the whole tournament as a whole. 74 years old. He's been at Syracuse forever. How much longer, how much left in the tank do you think Jim has at Syracuse?
And here's the thing that I tell people about Jim Boeheim is that, one, he loves coaching and really nothing else. Like, if you remember a couple of years ago when he got suspended and Mike Hopkins took over, who I am incredibly fond of. I love Mike Hopkins, and I was so incredibly sad to see him leave here a couple of years ago to go to Washington, and obviously that's worked out for the Huskies. But Jim Boeheim loves to coach. That's the one thing that he loves to do. He loves being around basketball. When he got suspended, he sat at home and watched basketball. He didn't do anything else. So that's what he knows how to do well. And now with his son Buddy being on the team, he's going to be a sophomore this coming season. I'd say once Buddy graduates, that will likely be the end of Jim Boeheim's tenure. But keep in mind, that's going to put him at, 77 years old?
Yep.
It's not, no guarantee. Let's just put it that way.
And Buddy Boeheim, he's pretty good. So
He's a good shooter.
he can shoot the ball a little. I don't really like when the coach has like Brad Calipari. That kind of annoys me. But Buddy can play, so I respect it.
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you the story of why Buddy ended up in Central New York. So
there we go. This is why we have you on.
His brother Jimmy is at Cornell, right? And I think that Jim Boeheim, when Buddy was in high school, kind of thought, all right, I think maybe Buddy will play at one of those types of schools as well. And he was a good player, obviously. He could shoot the ball. He was wiry. He was long. But I don't think Jim ever saw him as an ACC basketball player. And he was with the Albany City Rocks, which is a pretty solid AAU team that has a lot of talent come out of it. Isaiah Stewart being one of them this year, the number 4 recruit in the country, and then an incoming freshman at Syracuse, Joe Girard, who's the all-time leading scorer in New York State history. So that's a good AAU program. And Buddy began playing pretty well, and well enough that Jim Boeheim's good friend Mark Few said, "Hey, are you taking your son?" And he was like, "What?" He's like, "Well, if you're not